From our Sky News studios in Melbourne, live, The Vault Report.
Welcome to the show. Later on, the coronavirus. More statistics show this has been an overreaction. And there's the first hint today from the Prime Minister that maybe, the bans could be relaxed within weeks, not 6 months. But first, Cardinal George Pell is innocent. That's what the High Court effectively said today. Unanimous. 7 judges to 0. He is innocent. Now, those High Court judges spoke with one voice. Pell should never have been convicted of the rape of 2 boys in his cathedral. And they freed him at last from jail after 405 days of imprisonment, most of it in solitary, for a crime that I will show you again he could not possibly have committed. So shame on all those people who persecuted Pell in one of this nation's greatest miscarriages of justice. Now, don't tell me to have faith in our justice system now that justice has been done at last, for which I do thank the High Court. Yes, Pell is indeed now free. But this witch hunt has ruined his reputation, destroyed his brilliant career. He was the world's 3rd most senior Catholic. And it's robbed him of so many days of his freedom. So shame on the state institutions which tried to destroy him. To destroy a man who was loathed by the left as a conservative and chosen by the mob to be the scapegoat for his church. Shame on Victoria Police, which trawled for complaints against Pell and beyond this particular matter, even issuing public appeals for victims to come forward in a process that we know from other such miscarriages of justice is likely to encourage false memories, false claims and hopes for compensation. Shame also on the ABC, our national broadcaster, for hysterically promoting damaging claims against Pell that all turned out to be too absurd to lead to charges, or too flimsy to go to trial, or now too weak to survive an appeal. Shame on Melbourne University Press for publishing a bestseller on Pell by ABC journalist Louise Milligan, which wildly accused Pell of many horrible crimes against children, not one of which has stood up to legal scrutiny. But it all fed the Get Pell hysteria during his trial. Shame also on the Victorian Court of Appeal, which in a 2-to-1 decision last year rejected Pell's initial appeal. That bizarre decision earned the 2 Victorian judges who turned Pell down, earned them a stinging criticism today from the High Court. The High Court accused those judges, including Chief Justice Anne Ferguson, of failing to engage properly with matters in Pell's defence, of having failed to engage with the question of whether there remained a reasonable possibility that the offending of which Pell had been accused had not actually taken place. And shame on the vile mob which still treats Pell as a pedophile. People who refuse to look at the facts. I'll name names later. But for now, there is one man I must single out. Dan Andrews, Premier of Victoria, the state whose judges and police and media did so much to jail an innocent man. Andrews today tweeted, "I make no comment about today's High Court decision, but I have a message for every single victim and survivor of child sex abuse. I see you, I hear you, I believe you." Now, the problem with tweets like that in response to a case like this is that they can so easily be misunderstood, and I'm speaking generously. They can encourage the kind of people who were involved in this witch hunt. I'm talking about people who don't just believe real victims, as we all should, but who also insist on believing people who claim to be victims even when there is overwhelming evidence against them. That is exactly the attitude that caused this witch hunt, this vilification, condemnation and jailing of an innocent man. Yes, we must defend victims of child sexual abuse. But we cannot treat every improbable allegation as true and jail innocent people to make ourselves seem more compassionate and more moral. That is not more moral, it is unjust. Now, talking of unjust, the haters who are now furious, who claim that Pell just got off on a technicality. False. The High Court didn't just say that the case against Pell failed to meet the legal test of beyond reasonable doubt. It went further. It said there was a significant possibility that an innocent person has been convicted. And no wonder. Let me explain why. From the start, the very start, the allegation against Pell was improbable, implausible. He was somehow found guilty of raping 2 teenage choir boys at the same time in an unlocked room in a busy cathedral straight after Mass. Boys that allegedly found in the sacristy, which is a change room at the back of his cathedral, stealing altar wine. Now, never mind that one of those boys, who's now dead, actually told his mother he hadn't been abused at all. The whole case rested on the uncorroborated word of the other boy. Worse, the prosecution admitted that the only time these rapes could have happened was in 5 or 6 minutes of quiet prayer time, directly after Pell had finished giving the Mass. And after that, the altar service would be going in and out of that sacristy to change and to pack away things used in that Mass. So, obviously, a rape couldn't have occurred then, not with everyone in and out of the room. Now, this quiet time, this 5 or 6 minutes, the only time this rape could have occurred, started when the Mass finished, and the choir, including the 2 boys Pell allegedly raped, went up the aisle of the cathedral to the front door, and after that, the procession then walked around the cathedral. That's that orange line I've drawn there, red line, sorry, that red line round the cathedral to a gate near the back. The adult service in the procession would then turn left, the green line, to the sacristy where they store the cross and start the clean-up, and the choir would turn right to their change rooms. It was at that point that the accuser told the jury that he and his friends snuck away, I filmed it on my iPhone, doubled back to a side door that you see there, and then turned back again to the sacristy where they hunted around and drank altar wine, and then, they say, well, one said, Pell allegedly found them and raped them. But do you see the impossibility here? Right, there they are, the yellow line is where the boys broke off and went to the sacristy, when the green line indicates the people at the front of the procession were already there. When the boys left the procession, the service at the front were just 8 metres from the sacristy. They must have got to the room before the 2 boys did from the other side. So there was zero chance of Pell them finding that room free for the 5 minutes that was said he needed to rape them. There's actually a second impossibility, which I found when I reenacted that route that the accuser says he took after the end of the Mass and before he was raped. I walked that route and I timed it. 1 minute to go from the choir stalls inside and up to the front door of the cathedral, and then, and I filmed it, another 2.5 minutes to walk in that procession from that door, around the side of the cathedral, down the side, past the side door on the left, then the sacristy on the left, also on the left up the side and down to the gate where the adult service turned left and the choir boys turned right. Now, I'm not going to run the whole video that I shot on my phone, but that walk at a brisk pace for a procession took me 2.5 minutes on top of the minute it took to get to the front door of the cathedral. That's already 3.5 minutes. It took me another half minute to go from that gate back through the side door of the cathedral, add another minute or more for the boys to go to the sacristy, poke around, find the altar wine in a cupboard and drink it before Pell allegedly found them. Are you doing the maths? That adds up to 5.5 minutes all up. All that quiet time gone, during which they're supposedly being raped, all of it gone before Pell could possibly have found them. So the boys couldn't have got to that room in time to be allegedly raped. But nor could Pell. Unchallenged witnesses had said he was actually at the front of the cathedral after Mass, as always saying hello to parishioners. Usually for 20 minutes he stood there. And he had with him an MC who swore to this, whose job was never to leave Pell's side until the Archbishop went home. So the evidence to me was blindingly clear. I can't understand why the Victorian judges didn't see it. Neither Pell, the supposed criminal, nor his victims could have been at the scene of the crime at the only time the crime was possible. And it seems that the High Court today agreed. As its judgment said, the unchallenged evidence of the opportunity witnesses was inconsistent with the complainant's account and described the applicants, we're talking about George Pell, his practice of greeting congregants in or near the cathedral steps after Sunday solemn Mass, the established and historical Catholic Church practice that required that the applicant, as an archbishop, again Pell, should always be accompanied when robed in the cathedral, and the continuous traffic in and out of the priest's sacristy for 10 to 15 minutes after the conclusion of the procession that ended that Sunday solemn Mass. He could not have done it. It is a scandal that Pell was charged, convicted, jailed, first appeal turned down on charges so preposterous. Shame. Shame on everyone who joined this witch hunt.